And welcome to the postgame show as the Mariners somehow barely just edged out a win as it was 6-2. And then Seawald made it 6-5. And there was some tense moments, but somehow the Mariners pulled away at the very last moments. And now the Mariners have 3 wins in a row. And I don't even remember the last time the Mariners won 3 games in a row. Actually, I'm going to take a look at that. And then Jay Trident goes straight to what happened until the top of the ninth, and I will cover the top of the ninth.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I'm almost forgetting. The top of the ninth was amazing. Mariners put up 4 runs thanks to some great base running from Caballero. I'm trying to remember how it went now. Mike Ford led off with a single. Ty France was hit by a – and then Caballero pinch ran, stole second. Ty France was hit by a pitch. Colton Wong laid down Caballero then stole third. Colton Wong laid down a bunt. And then they thought they had the runner at third, but Cabby got back, loaded the bases. JP sac fly. Julio with a big double. That was nice to see. Teoscar with a single that we thought was just playing add-on, but turns out the Mariners needed. And then
it was the insurance run that they absolutely needed.
It's funny how that works out, isn't it? Like it was just a little base hit that got through. It seemed like just a little add-on. And my gosh, did they need that little add-on?
They absolutely did. And take us to what happened before it got to the ninth inning.
All right, let's go through the beginning of the game. So both starting pitchers were really sharp, Logan Webb and Brian Wu. In the top of the fourth, the Mariners scored on a wild pitch after they loaded the bases with 1 out with Dylan Moore up. A wild pitch got away from catcher Sable, and Teoscar scored. Unfortunately, Dylan Moore struck out. Colton Wong did drill a line drive that was caught, making it 1-0. In the bottom of the fourth inning, Blake Sable, the catcher, who had a huge game, hit a 2-run home run to give the Giants a 2-run lead. Pretty much zeros up until the 7th inning when Colton Wong led off with a base hit. JP Fall with a base hit. First and third with 1 out, a almost double play from Julio, but he was able to beat it out for an infield RBI ground out, and it was 2-2. Ty Adcock pitched a nice solid inning, as did Andres Munoz, and the Mariners ended up concluding with a W. Real quick, I'll give the final line for Brian Wu here, who, well, if I can, my computer is being slow. So maybe I won't give the final line for Brian Wu.
I'll give the final line. I can get to it really fast.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yep. Brian Wu, here is his pitching line, and I'll get to the refresh. All right. Brian Wu with 88 pitches. He threw 88 pitches, 7 strikeouts, 2 walks. His ERA now goes down to 4.08, close to getting into the 3s. He did give up the home run, but other than that, he pitched beautifully, it seemed like.
Against a lineup that's been pretty good. This Giants lineup has been one of the better ones in baseball, and they've been playing pretty good baseball as of late. So just another quality start from Brian Wu. Did what he needed to do, and unfortunately, he can't get a W because he's had a couple that he should have had that unfortunately hasn't gotten.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate, and it does remain to be seen that whether Brian Wu is still going to be needing to contribute, because seems to be typical where young pitchers tend to get shut down early. But with this situation, there's really no reason to, because now that Bryce Miller is out for 15 days on the IL, it is unclear whenever Emerson Hancock and Prelander Baroa gets their opportunities. As at this point, I think you got to call up one of them. At least you got to call up Prelander Baroa to strengthen up the bullpen, since you are bringing up Festa, which I'm not confident about Matt Festa. And also now that Trevor Gott is gone, of course, and I was not excited about that move at all because I knew it was just a cheap move. But other than that, you got to give Prelander or Baroa a chance, or at least you got to get Emerson Hancock in there. And now let's look at the starters we got. We got Luis Castillo, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Brian Wu, and then who's going to be that number 5 now that Bryce Miller's not there?
Well, Bryce Miller should be back. I think he'll miss 1 start. Darren McCacken will fill in on Wednesday. He's just your basic 4A, starter. I think the reason they put Miller on the IL is that they can have him pitch. He'll miss 1 start, and then he'll probably be the number 5 coming out of the All-Star break. So he should just miss 1 start. So I don't think it's anything it's just a blister. I think they expect him back, but they're just kind of utilizing the IL here to do that.
Like experiment. So basically hopefully we get another Easton McGee kind of start.
Yes.
And Elliott said they didn't shut down Kirby. No, they did not. But I
No.
will say he should have been in the All-Star game. Now, before we go into the next game, I'm going to say this. The media, the fans, they always, whenever the team loses or however it goes, guess who they are always going to blame? Their offense. They're going to say they could score 7 runs, and they're still going to say, after they blow it up, just like the Cubs game, they'll just say, no, the offense didn't score enough runs. And I will keep saying it. A game like this exactly proves, especially the way that Paul Sewald had and nearly blew another save, made it 4 blown saves it would have. I just think this is where I say blaming the offense is just a very lazy assessment. Now, are they a good offense? Of course not. But I just don't think it's fair to blame everything on just the offense when there are other components of the team that are having issues. Even the starting pitching is having problems. They've been giving up quite a bit of home runs, and this is supposed to be the best starting pitching in baseball. And talent-wise, I still delusionally believe that. But other things that fans and media should be looking to, other than offense, because obviously the offense is a fun thing to make fun of because it gets the clicks, I guess, especially when teams are not scoring runs. Of course, they're going to get the first center of blame, but they're not looking at the fact that Paul Sewald nearly blew the game. Bullpen wasn't exactly great on Friday. They were, I guess, okay in those 2 games, but this is where I'm going to say you got to look at everything in the team. And Paul Sewald, he did not look great out there other than he gave up some hits. He nearly got himself out of it, but he didn't give up a home run because I think in that at bat where he gave up that home run to the catcher, multi-hit game, and that was his first one of his career, by the way. And of course, it had to be on the Mariners, but he was getting a little bit cute. He was trying to get him to bite on pitches, and it got to the point where, of course, when you're on a 3-2 count, of course you're going to throw a strike and then basically give him a meatball cookie pitch. But that's my thoughts is it's not always the offense to blame. And plus, they scored 4 runs. And then they get the thank you by the Mariners giving up 3 runs. So this is the exact parts where I say you just can't put everything on the offense. Now, that's my rant, but I don't even know if that's going to warrant even me putting it on a YouTube short at all. Plus, it went above a minute anyway. But let's look at the next game because I think we've talked about everything we possibly could. And I did like that Scott Service told Colton Wong to bunt. At least give it a shot. And it was worth a shot. And plus, that even the attempt of bunting, Caballero to steal third. So it is a strategy that should not be ignored.
Well, we've talked about it too, putting the ball in play. Now, obviously, like, are there the Ty Francis that can put it in play and hit the double plays? Of course. But it pulled the third baseman in, put the game in motion. And yeah, I mean, even though like they didn't end up necessarily needing the bunt, it still put pressure on the pitcher and they did a good job. Now, and I'm with you. Like, I don't think now I have been critical of the offense mainly because like it should be better. Like, you know what I mean? I think it is a good offense.
It's too talented not to be this good. It should be a top 10 easily.
Exactly. And that's been my frustration. But it is never just on one unit. I mean, we've gone up and down the roster. You talked about the starting pitching. Like, I'm with you. I think it's a great rotation. But remember a couple weeks ago, I don't know, it went through that stretch where it was getting lit up like crazy. And like that Texas series, they were down 10-0 in the second, third inning. Hard to get an offense for that game. You know what I mean? It's hard to blame a team when you're down 9-0 for not scoring enough because what can you really do? So it's at some point this year, it has been all 3 units. I agree with you. I think the bullpen's good. Do I think it's like, does it make me nervous at times? Yes, very much so. The only pitcher in that bullpen does not give me a little bit of like, ooh, sometimes is Munoz. Even Paul, he gives up some. I love Paul. Great pitcher. I think he should go to the All-Star game. But he has some home run stuff, gives up some home runs.
He has some moments.
Yeah. Munoz is really the only guy that I'm like, okay, sit back. We should be good here. Like,
with the exception of the Tampa game, but that game was already a disaster anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, everybody's going to get lit up at some point, but Munoz is the only guy where I'm usually like pretty comfortable that it's going to be a shutdown inning. The rest all make me a little nervous.
They all make us nervous, and that's why when it comes to the trade deadline, which like, I will say it, the team does not have to sell. They can buy. They should either let Freelander Baroa pitch or find anyone that can solidify a bullpen role. And it doesn't even have to be a closer because I think maybe Seawald could be the guy. But if you can find the closer in the market, go ahead and go for him. Now, the question is how much will you give up? Because I don't think they're going to do like a Heathcliff Slocum where you give up like two of one of your best prospects. That ain't going to happen. Jared Dipoto would not do that. And plus, the only reason why he kind of hauled apart the system for Luis Castillo was two of those shortstop prospects, Novi Marte and I think it was Arroyo. Can't even say his first name. I don't even know what it was. They were high strike. Was it?
Was it Edwin Arroyo? Am I wrong?
Edwin Arroyo. The issues with those two, and I did take a look at them very carefully, they are very high strikeout people. So that's why they're willing to deal them. And Felnine Celestine was already in line to sign for the team. And then you got Cole Young, who is supposedly supposed to be better about getting on base. So that's why they were willing to make that one-time exception to give away a couple prospects, especially if they can strike out a lot. And you get a guy named Castillo who did get named to the All-Star game. Of course you should do it. But now I question who can the Mariners really give up to get anyone in bullpen or at least in the starting pitching? Because I think you got to get at least two of those three. Got to get somewhere in the pitching. I would prefer to say bullpen because I do think the starting pitching will figure it out eventually. It has the depth for it. I think bullpen's what you need to get, and at least somehow one more bat to like pull like a trade where you could get like a Carlos Santana type deal. You don't necessarily have to haul the system for it, but make one of those sneaky trades where you can get something and get some teams to bite. Because there are teams out there that are always desperate to sell, and we'll see it once it goes to trade deadline. Now, for the game, next we got Logan Gilbert, who is 5-5, 93 strikeouts, 4.19 ERA. So that's been a little bit concerning. Now, the pitcher for the Giants is to be determined. We don't know yet. I guess it's like a 4th of July special kind of surprise.
I'll tell you, the Mariners have struggled with TBD this year. He's given them some fits all season. So.
Yeah, and hopefully the Mariners will pull that win on a patriotic holiday. So we'll have to see about that. And then for the third game, and I only got to do this because I don't think we're going to be here on Wednesday, unfortunately, because and you're not going to be there anyway, but
no.
It's going to be, we're also on a TBD because now against Cobb.
It's Bryce Miller. It's going to be McCacken. I assume, unless they bring up somebody else and he's just there as an extra arm, I don't think it's going to be Emerson Hancock because they have to make a 40-man spot for that.
They're not going to do it, no.
Not for one start. So I think it'll be McCacken. So get the win tomorrow. That's all I'm going to say.
Get the win tomorrow. At least get the wins because if for that third game, and if it's like a McCacken, I'm willing to just throw it away. Because if you secure your first two wins and you don't have an established starter exactly, then I won't lose sleep. Because usually I do lose sleep when you win 2 in a row and you don't win your third. I lose sleep over that because it's a momentum killer. But for a situation like this, I'll let it slide. And plus, they got to get a lot of rest, especially for a Houston 4-game series. So tomorrow is very important. I think it's going to be the most important game of the entire week because 1, you got to win the series. 2, at least for the third game, I don't think you necessarily have to go for the win as much, knowing the situation. Now, should they compete? Of course. But shall you lose sleep over it? No. Because it will be about getting prepared for the Houston series. And then hopefully with a 3 out of 4, you can get some nice rest for the All-Star game. And I won't care about it as much if we get 3 out of 4 against Houston. If I had a choice between taking a 3 out of 4 or a sweep against Houston rather than having 8 All-Stars for the Mariners, I'll take the 3 out of 4 or the sweep on Houston rather than some stupid All-Star game.
100% agreed. And I'm with you too. Like, if you can if you win tomorrow, you win a series against a good baseball team. If this was Oakland or Kansas City, I'd say no, you got to finish off that sweep. Giants are good. So I have no problem getting the second one. And then honestly, like if the bullpen's taxed, you could just tell McCacken, dude, you're going 7 innings, man. I don't care what happens.
You're going 7 innings. You're going over 100 pitches.
Yeah. Remember they did that with Marco the last game last year. They didn't want to use the bullpen. You're like, dude, you're throwing 120 pitches today. Like, I don't care how long it takes you. You're doing that. So they can do that on Wednesday and then save the bullpen for Houston. So I'm with you. Tomorrow's the biggest one, and I'm with you on the trade deadline too. I think starting pitching is a sneaky need because you got a lot of guys that are going to come up on these innings limits. Woo, Miller. They were going to limit Kirby before the season. That's why he opened up as number 5, was because they wanted to be careful with Kirby. At this point, that's kind of out the window. So I don't think this has to be like a stud, but I think you got to add some veteran that at the worst case can eat innings. I'd like someone that can eat innings and is good, not like a Madison Bumgarner eat innings, but somebody, I haven't gone through all of it yet, but someone that you can get that, like a slightly better version than Marco, a 2021 Chris Flexen type, someone like that can come in. And the bullpen, you always need to make moves in the bullpen. That
got to make moves. It's something that they only got Matthew Boyd last year, was a pretty cheap move, which he actually did turn out pretty well. But the problem was they hardly ever used him. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, like, it will determine, like, if they cannot stand pat, because who is to say all those other wild card rivals, they're absolutely going to make moves. Look at Texas. They were leading the division significantly. They made moves. And I think we could have gotten Chapman easily, but they didn't.
Well, and last year, too, with the bullpen, you had more depth there. Even though, like, do I think Penn Murphy and Festa were amazing? No. But they were guys that could get you through the 5th and 6th. Brash, I thought, was a little better last year, at least to my eye. His numbers weren't, but that's because his ERA was inflated from being a starter last year. Diego Castillo was pretty decent last year. Again, not great. He was still made me nervous, but you had more depth in that bullpen last year. It's a little thinner this year. Topa started out great. He's been a little iffy. Brash has been better, but he still likes to let those inherited runners score, like, every time he comes in. And I love Paul, but like we saw tonight, he can give up the long ball occasionally. We saw it against Washington. Munoz is the only one. And Elliot, I see your comment, prefer a bat first. Here's my thing. Improving the team is what it's all about. And whether that's through offense or pitching, to me, it doesn't matter. I'm with Rooftop. I think a Carlos Santana type is what this team needs. It's going to force some of these guys off the roster, like Pollock, that are just bad, you know what I mean, and get them out of there and hopefully lengthen that lineup a little bit. You're not going to get a stud. They're just not. You're not getting Ohtani at the trade deadline.
No, but, of course not.
Yeah, but there are Carlos Santanas out there that can just help this lineup a little bit, and then hopefully second half, Gino gets some power going. Julio goes from average to great, you know what I mean? And Cal gets better. And then all that put together helps.
That will get something. But no question, like, if this team is going to compete, which I do think it is, like, I think it's absolutely disgusting that there's the media out there and some YouTubers out there. I won't say the name because I don't want to sound like they're living rent-free in my heads, but there are some out there that say, should the Mariners sell? And look where we're at, still 5 games back from the wild card. Absolutely not. And even surprisingly, 8 games back from the division. Looks like Texas has been slipping as well. So there is still room to get at least a wild card and maybe even give Texas a little bit of heart attack, because Texas made those moves for a reason, because they actually started to struggle a little bit. So
they're 10-15 in their last 25. So they're not playing great baseball.
They're not great. And actually, I saw a really funny thing on Twitter that since around mid-June, I think you saw that too on my Twitter, I retweeted it, the Mariners are actually the best team in baseball in the division since June 12th.
10-9. So they've been – the problem is, though, and that's where it's kind of frustrating, like if they could just be 12-7, win 2 more, they would have made some hay and gotten back in this thing a little bit. The only reason I would be okay now, when I say sell, I do not think this team needs to fire sell. I'm talking like some of the extra pieces. The only reason I'd be in favor of it is that with the extra wild card, you have a lot of teams that stay in contention. So you may be able to get a decent haul if you do sell some of these guys. I wouldn't do it yet, but if they somehow, like if they get swept in Houston or something, then, you know, it might be time to look at where they're at and decide what to do. But certainly right now, I think you're still looking at making additions. I think the core is good enough too, where you don't want to tear this thing down. I do think, even if they don't get in this year, they are capable next year.
They are capable. And and this team is way too young to even do
Yeah.
like a fire sale.
No, you can't even do it. What do you know?
Going back to like after the Cano years, like after 2018, there were so many fans and media and even Harold Reynolds where they said, no, they should give it one more run. And I was like, no, Felix is pretty much dead. Seager's pretty much lost it. Cano pretty much fell out, and Cruz isn't going to last forever, which he did at least for a couple more years. But that team was that core was just aging where I was like, nah, just blow it up. I don't care. And I was 100% for the blow up.
And then think about it. If they would have kept that team. Cano, I don't know. Did he get suspended again? I don't remember.
He got suspended again at least a couple of years later. So, and then we don't have a Jared Kelenic. We have Diaz, but maybe we would have gotten the bad parts of him.
Yeah. Remember Diaz first year in New York, he was terrible. So you would have had bad Diaz, Cano not playing, Seager still hitting home runs, but that average dropping, Felix a corpse,
just dead.
Paxton getting hurt. That team would have lost probably 89, 90 games easily. Nelson Cruz even was still solid, but did take a step back. He was still a good DH, but not enough to carry it. And then even Segura tailed off. I think he had a couple decent years.
Mariners really sold beautifully.
They did.
Yeah. And that 2019 season, I hate to say it, that was actually one of my maybe top 5 seasons, because I spent most of the season just watching the minor league and then just looking forward to it. But I think that's all I can say. But yeah, we don't have to sell. They are still in this. Like, as much as the media and the fans want to say, oh, panic. And yeah, I'm one of them too. But I'm like, but we're still like we're still 5 games back and 8 games back from the division. But I will say the biggest key is to win tomorrow. And I would think, like, if they win tomorrow, here's what I think is going to happen. Like, and I hope it does happen. I think Scott Service might give some of these boys days off. Like, maybe you see, like, Ty France would definitely get a day off. Like, maybe Julio will get some time to breathe. Let Dylan Moore play. Let Pollock waste time. Colton Wong waste time. Caballero. Maybe you'll rest the likes of the JPs and the Kellenics. Kellenic could use a little chilling. At least a day off, because that guy just keeps hacking it like no other. Like in that 9th inning where he had a golden opportunity to keep extending it, he just kept swinging that balls in the dirt.
Well, and like I said, that at bat didn't look like much of the time. It's like, okay, whatever. But thank God Teo came up and singled, because otherwise we might still be watching baseball right now.
We might still do, and we're in the extra innings, just ripping our hairs out.
That's why we always say, we both say it, people in the chat say it, keep adding on, because you don't know. You know what I mean? Baseball is, there's no clock to save you. It's
an unpredictable game, to say the least.
Football, sometimes you watch, how many times have we seen games where our team's up big and they let their team back, and you're like, that clock, just keep running and the clock saves you in the end. Don't have that in baseball. You have to get the other team out to win a game.
Absolutely. Unless you're in a recreational softball league where there's a clock rule, but we wouldn't want that in Major League Baseball. That would up the strategy, but there would be so much abuse on it.
Oh yeah, it would be. I've always wondered how that would work. You'd have guys just like taking their time out there. And Stefan, Jared was off yesterday, but I think I still think giving him just a couple days isn't a bad idea before the All-Star break. Yeah, Ty didn't start. I don't know if you saw that rooftop because you came in, Ty.
I saw that. But regarding Jared, And
I think I was going to say, I think Ty today was more of an injury thing with yesterday.
It was an injury thing, absolutely. Yeah, and then Jared, I think he just needs a day off. Like, I just think he does.
And the point is, too, I think, Rooftop's making there, is that you're going to that Houston series. This is all if you win tomorrow, by the way. We're not saying
gotta win tomorrow.
Yeah, we're not saying like, oh, give these guys win tomorrow, and then Wednesday you can sit there and say we won the series. Doesn't mean you still go for it. But with McCacken on the mound, you can maybe take your foot off and just get ready for that Astros series. Because that one, like Rooftop said, I'd rather take 2 out of 3 from the Giants than 3 out of 4 in Houston than sweep the Giants, again, if they win tomorrow, and then split in Houston. The Houston series is more important, so you want to be more geared up. They're all important. They're all important games. But Houston's going to be –
This is the one time I'm making that exception to – it's like, okay, maybe you could just put the gas pedal off just a little bit.
I mean, still go for it. We still want them to win, but let's
still go for it. Yeah, win them all, but I'm okay with that little load managing there because, I mean, Houston.
For it.
And don't forget, you're going to get a little jet lag when you go from San Francisco to Texas.
If they can win tomorrow, it's a good time for it. Flick says no letting off the gas. I don't think we're saying like, again, this is all if they win tomorrow. I don't think we're saying like let off the gas, like don't go for it. It's just going into that Houston series, that's pivotal for the wild card, the division, whatever it is. If guys need a day off Wednesday, if you can win tomorrow, I'm okay with it. I can stomach beating the Giants 2 out of 3, beating a good team, and then being okay with going into Houston if they can get some wins there. Not so much that like, oh, just throw it away because there's only so many guys on the bench. Someone's going to have to play, but just a good time to maybe, give those guys some days off if possible.
Yeah,
I think.
But if the Mariners completely bomb tomorrow, then it doesn't matter. Then you got to win that third game.
Exactly.
We're sweeping Houston. Yeah, I would like to. Let's do that.
They did it. Remember 18? They went there in September and swept Houston. So or August or something. So.
No, we haven't swept. I don't even remember the last time we even swept Houston. I don't even know if we even did.
Yeah, 18. They swept a 4-game series in Houston at the end of 2018.
Oh, when it pretty much didn't even matter anymore.
I think it was still actually.
Let me take a look. You said it was 2018.
Yeah, it might have been. It was August. I think they were still in there. They were behind Oakland. That was when Oakland just would not lose a game. I remember every time I'd look, I'm like, Oakland would just refuse to lose no matter what.
Oh my God. Like end of August is when it got really bad. That's when, oh my God, 14 games back from the division at the end of the season.
Houston was winning the division. Duh.
Yeah, they won and they were still within 4 games of the division. They still had it.
Elliott said
they swept them.
I don't remember a sweep in 2020.
And maybe that was supposed to be the momentum boost. And then, oops, they lose that series to Oakland and then laid an egg against the Dodgers. Oh, wow. They were losing series after that.
Yeah, that was, in fact, I'm pretty sure that was like the last hurrah of 2018.
That was. And I think that was also the series where Felix came out of the bullpen.
It might have been. It might have been for sure. Elliott says 2 years ago. I do not remember sweeping Houston in 2021. And then I'm going to be honest, 2020 to me doesn't count. I don't remember or watch much in 2020. So maybe they did then. I'm sorry to any Dodger fans out there. Doesn't count for me. So
let me look at 2021 and see how they did against the Houston Astros.
I remember them sweeping Houston in 21, but maybe
21. They did not in August. Nope. Not in 21. Did not sweep Houston. I don't see it. Nope. They got swept by Houston in 21.
We're getting swept by Houston quite a bit.
Yep. And don't forget, that Houston series also will not include, I don't think it's going to include Yordan Alvarez. So that's one less thing to worry about, but you still got to go after it when you're in Houston.
Yep. Not going to be easy.
But I think that's going to be it for the show. And hopefully we are expected to return on Friday night, and this will be on my channel. The J Trident Man will get my bells and whistles if needed, if I'm not there for any reason on time. But Friday, we are absolutely looking to cover that game, and hopefully the Mariners will pull. Well, first, let's beat the Giants tomorrow, and then beat up on Houston going into the All-Star break. And is there any other thoughts you've got left?
No, that's pretty much it. Good win. Got a little sloppy at the end, but I will take it. 3 in a row. Feels good to win a few in a row. So let's make it 4 tomorrow. And I hope everybody has a great 4th of July.
Yes, great 4th of July. Happy birthday, America, and many, many more, I hope.
Me too.
All right. All right. Thanks very much for being on this show. Have yourselves a good night and go Ems and bad vibes only.
Happy 4th, Flick. Elliott.